Well, hello and welcome back to the final of my episode of all different zombicide characters and zombies I own. Today we're talking about the biggest character for zombicide I own, which is the necrotic dragon, which is probably the most complicated zombie that I own, but also kind of the most, what I think, interesting way of adding an event to a game. So I will try to go over it, and I'm literally sitting with the rules next to me, so I'm not missing anything. But it's just such a complicated beast to explain how it works, and generally what it does. So it's what it does. It's even from the way it spawns in to how it moves, how it interacts with other zombies and everything. So I need to take this in different steps. Like in Zombicide, you have a zombie deck, which looks like something like this, where you see what kind of zombies that spawns. But when you spawn a necrotic dragon, and let's say that you spawn it at this one here, and it lies, let's say it lies here. See if I can get it in focus. Normally a zombie would spawn over here, but the necrotic dragon is so big that it always places itself on the center tile when spawning, and it cannot spawn in blue, luckily enough. And when it spawns, let's say there is a zombie, like, I have a zombie right here, some zombies here. It's the zombies in the zone where it attacks, or lands. They will just die. It is what is called a zombie stomp. So it will just land on top of them and destroy it, which can be helpful sometimes, but be very unhelpful other times. Then after it's spawned, you draw what it's weak to, because this monster is not just... while it does die to a 2 damage weapon, it has to be specific kind of weapons. Like if you draw this one, you can see it will be weak to the ballista, which I will get to, and combat spell. Or you can get vault weapon, magic weapon. You can get melee weapons. You can get ranged weapon, or you can get, where is it? I think it's, there's 2 vault weapons. So basically, it gains a weakness when it spawns in, and it's the only thing that can defeat it. And that includes Dragonfire. So generally, it's an absolute beast, and even when it dies, you don't get any XP from it, because it's just don't die before you have been through all the different spawn codes there is. The next one is when it spawns in, and let's say there is a survivor in the zone where it lands. You can see this, see right here. It has a compass on it, where you roll a die in which way you are thrown. And if you're thrown into a building, you will take, as far as I understand, let's see. And if there's a building in the way, you will just don't move. But if you roll a 6, you will go one way, 3, 4, and 5. And on 1 and 2, you will stay in the same zone as the zombie dragon. Then, if it lands on a building, it will create rubble, meaning that building is now destroyed, and you're not longer able to enter that building. Meaning, if there is an object token in there, it will be lost, and it can literally lose your games by that. Which is a rule that I often, when I play with it, I can be very large with, being like, if it's a specific game ruling, or is it a vault weapon ruling, or what it is, whether or not I will let it be destroyed, like, let it end the game like that, because I don't just think it's boring if the game ends just because the dragon spawns in. But that's just me and my house ruling about it. But it's literally what they telling you can happen. Then when it moves, instead of just moving one space, it will move to the next zone where there are line of sight to and stand in the middle of there. Move to the next plate where there's sound coming from and stand there. Which means that it will always be on the middle, which makes sense because it's so big that having it in being like this seems weird. Which I think makes it really, really fast also, because just like some of my werewolf here will have 3 actions to move, this one's just to fly over, and you literally have to run away and hide in between the zones if you can't defeat it. But the thing is, you cannot hide in buildings. So let's say it's a bad camera angle. You stand like something like this, and you are in the building, and it gets an attack option. It can't see you because nothing can block its line of sight, and that leads to its attack way of its attacking. Now let's just say this is the middle of the plate. I know it's not, but when it attacks, it can attack on its zone or next to its zone, where it makes what it's called zombie grush. Again, it ignores line of sight, and when it attacks, you have to draw a card from your zombie deck and spawn as many zombies, because it spews of zombies. And then it does 2 damage. Meaning not only are you getting caught by zombies, but it also deals a lot of damage to defeat. But if you defeat, and if you decide to take the fight to it, how do you know how to defeat it? Well, because I have to check the bundle. If you will want to defeat it, you of course have to, as you can see, either having a melee weapon like this one, or ballista, or whatever is standing. But the ballista is able to defeat it always. So they recommend you always using the ballista in a game where you are playing with the zombie dragon, simply because it's a way to have a weapon to use at the zombie dragon, and since it will always stand in the middle of a zone, you can easily try to place the ballista so you can hit most of the middle zones. So personally, I think it's a very, very good way of having a counter, so you don't have to rely on finding the best weapon in the game just to deal with it, or a totally different weapon. But the ballista is also strong, so I know that many people have a tendency to nerf it and only have it a specific amount of time you can use it, because it can literally eliminate almost all zombies in just 1 turn. But I will do an entire video about the ballistas and catapults. The next thing, let's see here, is if you defeat it, you gain 1 XP. I don't have for each of the time it has appeared, meaning your more vulnerability cards you have, your more XP you will gain. Now, let's say that you have a really long game and you get through all of these, then you have finally defeated the zombie dragon. But that means that if you have 5 vulnerability cards and all 5 is gone through, you will have to shuffle the deck and go back to gaining 1 XP for defeating it. So generally, I think it's a really, really interesting boss event monster. And I generally have been very, very confused about playing with it, because I literally have to set, I have its rulebook always lying next to me when it's in the game, just because there's always something I forget, like the zombie spawns, the ballista, the weakness, the XP. That it's such a complicated one that 90% of this rulebook is about this dragon and this dragon's only, and I think that's absolutely fantastic, because this looks like a final boss kind of zombie, and it literally also feels like it. The fact that it destroys other zombies when it moves, also that does it both when it spawns and when it moves. If there's zombies in the zone, it will just destroy them and create zombies when it attacks. And you literally, and this was have been my experience when you're playing with these cards. Every single, as soon as you reach blue, every single card you are drawing, you are just like please don't be the necrotic, the dragon, because you're not ready. And I really like it, but you have to play it in bigger games. Like I have a small setup here with 4 plates. That means this one can literally get through every single zone easily, every single time. So I recommend you playing it where you're playing with at least 6 or 9 plates games. But if you're playing with it, it's feel really cool, both to fight it and to lose to it. So it took me a long time actually to feel like I was able to play with, to defeat it in many games. But lately, I think I actually really just like the dragon, and which I have probably said like 1,000 times now. But I like the way it looks. I like the way that you can take off its wings when you're storing it. I like that it's not just an abomination size zombie. It's literally almost 3 times as big as my abominations. So I really think it was a really interesting idea to give us this big dragon to fight in zombicide. And yeah, plus it looked really cool. I know there's another version of it, but that came when it's just I think it was the Kickstarter. But this is my version, and I like him. Probably my favorite model from Zombicide. See, so I'm also very careful with him, as you can see. So yeah, I hope I didn't forget any ruling oils. I will come back to them later on, because I know there are some zombies or characters which ruling I have been probably misinterpreted a little bit. So I will make a follow-up video if there's anything I forgot. But yeah, this is my necrotic dragon, and probably one of my favorite beasts in the game. But you have to consider which games you're playing it with. So yeah, I hope you enjoy and have a nice day.